Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, January 19th, 2022. It's an unusual morning. We've got the windows open. It's, I think, 62 degrees outside as shown here on my shared screen. So a beautiful morning to visit with you. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, a minute or so before 8 o'clock Central, to talk strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and solve problems. And so what we're going to discuss today is our proposed solution to solve a problem that we are frequently, but not always, seeing with white label partners. So I'm going to give you three quick examples, and then we'll dig in. We'll take Marie, for example. Marie's a real client. She was signed up originally by a white label partner late last year, 2021, not that long ago, right? Just a couple months ago, and signed up by one of our white label partners, Philip. And so Philip signed her up. She'd agreed to the terms and conditions. And so Philip, as the white label partner, was responsible to work with her to, because we got her funding offers, by the way, quickly. And then Philip was responsible to work with her to accept one or more of those funding offers. And it didn't happen. She just went dormant. And as we were thinking about launching this this new delegation program, we approached Philip and said, hey, what about if we reach out to Marie? I know she's your client. We know you're mentoring her. How about we reach out to her? And he's like, okay. And so we reached out to her, and she didn't have positive things to say about her interaction with Philip as her prior mentor. And we apologized and said, how about we go ahead and get a new app filled out, and let's see what we can get you for first tranche financing. And she agreed to give it a try. And just this morning, she has about 70,000, 70,000 funding pre-approvals on the table. And so what do we learn from that? Well, maybe Philip, maybe some white label partners just aren't as well positioned to mentor or coach their clients along. Next example, Miriam, similar name, but different person. Miriam has a different white label partner, Andre. Had a call scheduled with Miriam yesterday, and she's just frankly pissed off. She's pissed off. She feels like she's not received the mentoring from the white label partner. She almost concluded the program must be a scam because it was handled so miserably. It was, in her opinion, misrepresented to her. And so we apologized for that. So that's okay. We'll take on your mentoring and get you back on track. The third example I'll give is a client that reached out to us today that's working with a different white label partner, Larry, and said, what's going on? What's going on? And so we looked in the client's Dropbox, and the white label partner has not uploaded any of the loan package documents, which are of course referenced in module 4. So yet another dissatisfied client, frankly, because the mentoring being done by 3 different white label partners it's not happening the way it's designed. So we're not here to harp on Larry or Andre or others, but what we want to do is solve the problem, because we want to have satisfied clients, we want to have funded clients, and we want our white label partners to do what they do best and also make a lot of money. So with that being said, it has been approved, but we don't have all the details worked out. And today is a little bit of a sounding board to get feedback from you. But here is what we're going to offer. So we're not changing anything. So nothing has to change. It's just we're going to offer to do more of the client work. And I'll describe that and share it here on the screen from the email that went out to each of you this morning. If you want, you don't have to do it. Take Joseph, for example, one of our top white label partners. He's a realtor, RVP up in Arkansas. He's a machine. he's got this down. He would never want to delegate any of this because he's really good at it. But not everyone's a Joseph. We've got some white label partners that, due to whatever reason, are not able to work with clients very effectively. So we started to ask several of you, and I appreciate all of you that gave input. We know we're onto something big. We're enrolling lots of clients, and we're enrolling lots of white label partners, and we have a lot of funding going through. But with that being said, I don't think that we're capturing the full potential, because I think there's breakdowns. And so we asked, what could we do differently? And there were some ideas that were proposed that we did not accept. So I'll give you an example. It used to be that we did in-person trainings for our distribution partners. So people would fly in from across the country into our head office, and we would spend a day together, or initially it was 2 days, then we compressed it down to 1 day, and we'd spend a day together doing implementation training. Well, that got circumvented with COVID. And then, now travel's so crazy, who knows? There's probably a 1 out of 10 chance if you book a flight that the flight will be canceled, or even a higher chance it'll be delayed. So we went to online training. So we put all the training modules up on iimfl.org on the white label page. So it's available on demand. The world has kind of moved to distance-based learning. But my concern is that there's a fair number of our white label partners that have not diligently gone through the training. So one example of something that was proposed, which was to make it mandatory that all white label partners had to come to in-person training. So we rejected, it's a good idea, but we rejected that idea because of time and cost and inconvenience. So I don't want you to think that every recommendation that was made was accepted, but two specific, 3 benefits, but 2 specific changes are available. So let's go through those here, and then we'll discuss them. So we have been offering the delegated mentoring for some time now. And so the way that has worked is that if the white label partner has a given client that they don't want to do the mentoring on, to take through the 4 modules, or even help accept funding at the front end, then they could delegate that over to us. And in the past, we charged a flat $250 fee to do that delegated mentoring. So the feedback that we received from a number of you is that you really would like to delegate the mentoring, but you didn't want to have to pay for that delegation before that client generated revenue. So that was one recommendation that we've accepted, and we're going to change, which we'll talk about that in just a second. So if you do want to delegate the mentoring to us, then we'll do that. And there's no upfront cost, but we'll get into the details in just a second. So that's one of the 2 things that are available through what we're calling this delegation program. The second is an equally significant issue. A number of you, we had a really good training yesterday on the discovery process. We talked about creditors' rights. So when someone doesn't pay you what they owe you, what are some strategies that you can do about that to increase the probability of getting them to settle, or certainly to win through litigation? So that was a great training. If you didn't watch it, I encourage you to do so. But that just fueled more feedback from a number of you that said, man, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be suing people. I don't want to be chasing down people for money. So that is going to be part of this new optional delegation program, which in summary will take care of the mentoring. So which in other words means from the time that the client signs up through their process, we'll take care of that client so you don't have to. And then secondly, as they raise capital, or if they breach and they create an obligation, we'll take care of that as well. Because frankly, we already get the infrastructure set up to do it. And it just may not make sense for every white label partner, at least in the beginning, to have to set up the rather complicated structure to properly mentor and properly handle billing and collections. The third thing that was mentioned from a number of you that offered feedback is that you really wanted to see a more seamless client experience. And so we believe that we can accomplish that through this new delegation program. So what I'd like to do is get feedback from each of you. We're not ready to start this yet, but we will soon. So the decision's been made to do it. It needs to be a formal agreement. So in other words, we would need to find out from each of you if you want to enroll in the delegation program. We really need to do it for all clients. This one in, one out makes it more difficult for us. So it would be a decision going for, and you could stop the program if you didn't want to continue. But no, in other words, take Charles today. Charles, I think, enrolled 2 new clients already this morning. So if Charles is saying, well, I want you to mentor person A, but not person B, I want you to handle billing and collection on A, not B, it just gets too complicated. So in other words, it would be an outsourcing of the mentoring and us handling the billing and collections for you, rather that it's revenue generated by client performance or lack of performance. And so the concept is, in addition to providing a better client experience, a more seamless experience, is that it will free those of you up that just simply want to drive more volume, where you're not burdened with the time of mentoring, billing, collecting. So can each of you take a moment and give me some feedback in the Q&A of Zoom, either of questions you have about this or feedback on it? And even if you were part of the sounding board group that helped us get to this point, feel free to throw out your quote. And also, so I'm not asking you to enroll in this, and we've got to talk about pricing in that. And there's no upfront cost, of course, but I'd just like to get feedback from you. So in terms of the pricing, Timothy's asked about the pricing. So there will be no upfront cost to you. What we would do is we would just share in the front end, the refundable deposit, the first tranche financing differently. You would still get the full 50%, which is normally 5 to 7 points in the back end. So there'd be no change there. Most likely what we would do is we would just reallocate the split of the upfront refundable deposit, but it would be, again, triggered after the client has revenue, after the client has paid or agreed to financing. No upfront cost. That's the point. But we're working on crunching those numbers. And so, of course, we owe you that answer of how we would split the refundable deposit differently, but it would not change anything else. You'd still get half of the performance fee. You'd still get half the key person policy, so forth. All right, and so Doug brings up a good point. So pricing, yes, we've got to vet through. My assumption is that it would be a 50-50 split of your current 50% of the refundable deposit if we're taking on full mentoring of the clients and the billing and collections. So that entire spectrum. So that's what I would anticipate. So, I mean, you'll still make what, $600 on the front end of each client. You'll still make the 5 points in the back end, another 5,000 net, 10,000 gross, of course. But that's my assumption, Doug, of where the pricing will land. But they're crunching the numbers to determine what our cost would be for this. Thank you, Doug, for your input. Marcelo brings up a good point. He's got current clients. Yeah, so we wouldn't change those current clients because Marcelo's already working with his clients. I think both of he's only got 2 clients granted so far this month, but both of them have been funded. So I see your point, Marcelo. Yeah, we wouldn't want, probably this would start at a certain point, possibly February 1st, maybe sooner and then go forward. You're right. I don't think it would suit well going backwards, because that would be a lot of cleanup to do, as we hear from, unfortunately, some of your clients, not yours, Marcelo's, but some of our current white label partners, the way that they've been handled by their mentors, by their white label partner mentors, has not been so positive. I don't know that we want to put our staff into that big bucket of poop. So most likely it would be as of a given point in time going forward. Thank you, Marcelo. That's a great point. And again, I love the feedback, because you can see that we've made a decision to make this available, but it's your feedback that allows us to form it to best meet everyone's needs. Okay, so Marcelo's talking about reaching Madison. So Madison is our funding coordinator, and Marcelo, we've provided you her phone number that you can call or text, her email, and her Calendly. But I can certainly ask her to reach out to you. So let me make note of that, Marcelo. And so we'll get Madison to contact you soon. Okay. Terry says he likes the idea as described. Thank you for that, Terry. Elizabeth asked a good point. What about more training? So yes. If what your preference is, Elizabeth, or others, is to retain the mentoring and do it yourself, then absolutely, we're more than happy to provide more training and support. For the typical white label partner, they will simply go to the white label page on iimfl.org, go through the training videos, hopefully diligently, and then at the bottom, the process is there. So for most, they can assimilate that and implement. But for any of you that need or desire additional assistance, that's great. We can schedule one-on-one calls and work on that. So Elizabeth, absolutely, just use my Calendly and we'll do exactly that. And I'm so appreciative of Elizabeth bringing that up. So if anyone wants to retain the mentoring and just needs more support, then that's perfect. Let us know. And frankly, we get together 5 days a week in the morning. Like now, that's about 240 times a year. So we need to be using this time to support those of you that want to do the mentoring yourself as well. Warren's asking about the process to sign up. So we are flushing through the language, and then there will be an enrollment, not a cost. We're not charging anything up front, so don't mistake that. But this needs to be formal. And the reason it needs to be formal, let me give you an example. If we're doing the billing and collections, we are not set up to be a debt collection company. So you don't have to be a debt collection company if you're collecting your own debt. But if you're a third-party debt collector, there's all kinds of requirements and burdens. We're not set up to do that. We don't want to do that. There's plenty of debt collectors out there. So the delegation program for us to be able to do this bullet would mean that the account would have to transfer to us, and then it would be a primary debt of ours. Now, of course, you still need to be paid off of it, of course, but that's just an illustration that the language has to be that these clients are being, frankly, even more than delegated, being transferred to us. So they're still under your original agreement, your terms and conditions, but they're being transferred to us. Therefore, not only can we do the mentoring, we can do the billing and collections, because we're not a third-party debt collection company. Because what we know is there's two types, right? So take, who was the client? We had a client just got $10,000 this morning. I forget his name. I'm drawing a blank on it. But in his case, he's a primary client of ours, direct client. So we needed to invoice him. Hey, congratulations. So you get your first tranche of financing. And so let's get that paid, because people get their funding and then they need to pay their deposit. So that's what we'd call billing. And then collections is, of course, when people aren't paying as agreed. So the point is, yes, it'll be an Adobe agreement that you could enter into if you wanted. And then from that point going forward, until you decided to terminate it, and it wouldn't be perpetual, then we would handle the mentoring and we would handle the billing and collections. Again, no upfront cost to you. Sanya's asking about the current delegation. Now, the current delegation is fine. So several of you are delegating to us to do the mentoring on a one-by-one basis. And so that will continue. That's not changing, Sanya. Thank you for asking that. We're just talking about a more comprehensive solution that can result in a more seamless client experience. And again, we're hearing some horror stories from the field, not from you, Sanya, but from clients that are saying, my white label partner is incompetent or unprofessional or not available or inconsistent. And we just don't want that. So we want to give our white label partners an option to step away from doing the mentoring and the billing and collections if they don't want to do it. But if they want to retain it, perfectly fine. All right. Lee says he loves it. Great. Thank you, Lee. And Doug gives feedback. He said he would be more than willing to split the front end off of the refundable deposit as long as the performance fee doesn't change. And that's right. There's no reason that the performance fee would change. You're welcome, Marcelo. Oh, Devin was just clarifying if the current mentoring one-by-one, just as someone else just asked, Sanya asked, and yes, that'll continue to be available. All right. Oh, so Elizabeth brings up a great point that I don't think we considered. So Elizabeth's one of our RVPs. So I would say that if you're an RVP, you may want to consider doing this for your clients. That's a great point, because you already have the infrastructure set up. You're adding white label partners. Many of you have a lot of white label partners, and that could certainly be part of the value proposition that you're offering. So yeah, we don't feel in competition with you at all, Elizabeth, and that makes perfect sense. So that's a great point. You may want to replicate this and provide this package of services if you're an RVP to your white label partners. That is an excellent idea that, frankly, we didn't think about. Perfect idea. All right, Lee's asking about the agreement. So that's a really good point, because if any of you are going to use this delegation program, we'll have to make sure that the client agreement that you're using works for us. Where right now, if you're a white label partner, you can do whatever client agreement you want because it's between you and them. So that's a great point, Lee. We'll have to work through that as well. Great point. And again, Mr. Rich is talking about from an RVP perspective, and you're right. So Mr. Rich, you and other RVPs like Elizabeth, you'll most likely want to consider providing this package of services to your white label partners, and that just creates more value between you and them. That's a great point. All right, David asks, they will assist the client from beginning to end. Yeah, so in this, we would know, even because it would be some starting point going forward. So we would know each client that's enrolled is going to be in this delegation program if the white label partner wanted to do that. They're not required to, of course. And then we would handle getting their first tranche of financing, getting you paid, getting them through the modules, building the loan package, providing the weekly support calls, that entire package. All right, let's see. So Renee's asking some specific questions about specific clients. So Renee, I don't know, I'm in a real good position to answer that now. I'm not able to look those up, but I do encourage you to reach out to Madison, the funding coordinator, and help you with specific client questions. David asked a good question. So right now, by default, the white label partner is collecting the revenue from the clients, invoicing the clients, and then paying us. And of course, this would be reversed in this. So you're right, David, we'll have to figure out all the specifics around that, get everything into written format so we're all on the same page. But again, it's very much in development at this point, but those are important considerations. Glenn asked a really good point, and I'm glad he did, because we hear it periodically. So Glenn, I'll go ahead and quote you if I may. So Glenn says, why is there so much emphasis on the upfront refundable deposit? And so let's talk about that. Well, the refundable deposit is what pays you, Glenn, to mentor the client. It's that upfront refundable deposit that pays you, Glenn, to help the client build their loan package. If you didn't want to be paid for the work that you're doing up front, if you just wanted to wait until the end, you could do that. And frankly, you could cut the refundable deposit down to as low as $1,250 instead of $2,500. But why do apartments charge deposits, right? Why, when you go rent a car, do they charge typically a deposit? It's because sometimes people don't do what they promise to do, and it's some sort of assurance of revenue, even for those that stiff you. So can it be waived? If you want to do all of your work for free up front, Glenn, you can waive your portion, absolutely. But I don't know that you're going to find technical advisors that build loan packages without a fee structure. I've all told you, my first job out of graduate school was with Deloitte and Touche. My clients paid Deloitte, they didn't pay me $185 an hour, but that was my billing structure back 30 years ago. So there's nothing wrong with being paid for performing a service, and the service that you're performing, Glenn, is helping clients, of course, build their financial literacy, but most specifically, build a lender-compliant loan package. So if people think that there's going to be volunteers that are going to help them build loan packages, I don't know. I don't know. I think you're undervaluing your time, Glenn, and underappreciating the value of what we provide to think that you should work for free. Now, we don't charge upfront monies for funding, do we? We charge performance fees after the capital raise. And I think that's where the confusion with you, Glenn, respectfully is. There's a difference between clients having a refundable deposit to build a loan package versus advance fee loans. We don't do advance fee loans, right? The performance fees, to my knowledge, are never, ever, ever collected or invoiced from the client until after they're funded. So I think it's important, Glenn, to understand the difference between building a loan package versus performance fees, which are billed after the fact. All right, Renee asked, is the new delegation program that we're talking about today a hybrid white label affiliate? Well, I guess you could say that it has some attributes of the affiliate program, because with affiliates are not responsible for mentoring, and they're not responsible for billing collection. But affiliates are paid 1 point of the capital raise. So I think to keep from confusing it, I would say no, that this is a specific resource available to our white label partners, and for those that want delegated mentoring and delegated billing collections with no obligation to do so, and of course, no upfront cost. All right. So Peggy's asking about billing. Yeah. So through the delegation program, as is meant to be suggested here, we would be responsible for billing and collections. Sorry if that wasn't clear, Peggy. All right, Pauline says, so with this new platform, she finds the client. Well, okay, so that's a great point. So to clarify, Pauline, for everyone else, this is still the white label partner generating the client relationship and getting the client under agreement. So that is not changed. The difference is once the client's under agreement, who's going to mentor them and who's going to handle billing collections. So at the core of the white label model means that you, Pauline, are generating the client and getting the client under contract. But then everything afterwards, we would take care of through this optional delegation program. Great question. And I don't think I ever clarified that until just then. So, right, this is not us going to get you clients, because what's the value proposition? What are you providing? Now, there's been some discussion, and one of the other items that came up that was not included is what was proposed. I think it was by Paul, I forget who had recommended this, but said, hey, how about the white label partner generate the leads and then not even have to do the closing? Well, right now that doesn't make sense, because that's really what the white label does, is they generate the leads and they close the leads on their own paper, under their own contracts. But there is some serious consideration of offering closers that would do the closing for white label partners, but that would be separate, and that's not even far enough along to vet through in our conversation today. Winston asks, can we delegate the collections only? Well, yes, but not in this model. So the delegation program would incorporate both of these bullets. If all that you need help is with collections, there's already businesses out there that do collections, right? There's collection agencies, there's attorneys that will litigate for you, there's debt buyers. We're not any of those three, but certainly if you just need to outsource your collections, Winston, you certainly can do so. All right, so Bruce is asking about current clients going in, and he's got like 40 clients he wanted to send in. I don't think that we'll do that. I don't think going backwards makes sense, because those clients have been working with you, Bruce, and you're somewhere along the way of going through the modules, and you're somewhere along the way of populating their Dropbox. So this would be from a line in the sand going forward, not going backward, because it would take a tremendous amount of coordination to figure out exactly where you are with each of your 40 clients. So it would be from a line in the sand going forward, not retroactively. All right, Mr. Rich brings up a good point, and we'll start that tomorrow, because you're the second person that mentioned that, of spending more time talking about the modules. So yes, Mr. Rich, we'll make a point to focus on that starting tomorrow, and we'll spend the next couple sessions going through that. And then Doug has the last comment, I think, for today. He says, from the mentoring, well, and each of us have different education and experiences and skill sets, and a lot of you are much better than I am at many of these aspects, but I may be better at some than you. So I think what we want to do is certainly provide the tools and resources so the white label partners can handle their own mentoring and complete outsourcing. But it's not really going to be a 12 credit hour college level class. So the resources will be made, and then the white label partner will just need to make their own decision. Hey, am I competent and confident in doing it myself, or do I want to outsource it? And the outsource through the delegation program, those details are forthcoming. And then Doug's asking about current clients. So again, that's a great point. We'll have to figure out exactly. So we need to get all the details worked out, so we're all on the same page. It needs to be in writing, so each of you could decide, do you want to participate in the delegation program or not? If so, you would voluntarily enroll. There wouldn't be any upfront costs, so no worries about that. And then it would clearly delineate which clients can be handled going forward. Most likely it would be the clients from that point that the delegation agreement program is signed going forward. I will tell you that we're only going to offer the delegation program because there's a fair amount of effort on our side to get set up for each of you that we're going to put into the delegation program. So those of you that are active, we'll extend this to. If you're not active, I don't know that it's worth our time to set it up, because there's this pro and con. We don't want to charge you to set up our infrastructure to do your delegation. So there wouldn't be. We've already clarified that. But because of that, we can't waste a lot of time setting up a delegation program for people that ask for it, but that aren't producing anything. So I would just say, just a simple line in the sand. As long as you have 2 clients referred in this week, the week including January 19th, then you'll be eligible for the delegation program. And I do anticipate that we'll be rolling it out no later than Monday of next week. So if you have at least 2 submissions in this week, could be already, because today is Wednesday, maybe it was you submitted Monday or Tuesday, but as long as you have 2 white label submissions in this week, this week started on Monday. So between Monday, which would have been the 17th, through the end of this week, then you'll be eligible for the delegation program. If you don't have at least 2 in this week, then we won't be extending that to you for the reason I've stated. It takes time, effort, and money for us to set it up. And if you're not showing that you're active, then it just doesn't make sense for us to incur that time and effort. So there's a little carrot. Be sure to get at least 2 clients in this week, submitted through the white label client submission form. As long as you have at least 2 in this week, then you'll be eligible for the delegation program. If you don't have at least 2 in this week, going the 17th through this coming up Sunday, then we will not extend it to you. Hopefully that seems fair, because we're not charging you anything for our setup cost. So we need to make sure that we're only spending our time, effort, and resources for those of you that are active. All right, so we covered a lot. Hopefully this was helpful. I know that there's some unanswered questions. There's more detail that needs to be vetted through, but your feedback is valuable. Our goal is no later than Monday to have this ready to go. Hopefully before Monday, we can have the Adobe agreement out to everyone to review. And then if you want to do it, you can execute it. And then we will only counter execute it. We'll only implement if you have at least 2 white label client submission enrollments this week. We're looking for active white label partners, and only active white label partners will be able to use the delegation program. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.